Hello everyone, this is CJNovo992 and today we're back for another brand new video. Today's video, not only is it today's video clapback, but so is some European football as Rangers face Galatasaray in a game which is, honestly, if it's half as mad as my notifications for the Galatasaray fans since this game's been lined up, we should be in for an absolute blockbuster. Now, before we dive any further on with today's video, just a quick wee reminder in case you are enjoying these videos and you do enjoy the content. If you haven't done so already, please consider hitting that subscribe button. It's right down there. It's free. Doesn't cost you a penny. It just helps us on our way to hopefully one day reaching 55k. But speaking of free, shout out to the channel sponsors and the channel legends themselves, OneFootball as well, who do a free footballing app. So if you do want one of them, ladies and gentlemen, link for that is down there in the description below. But listen, as there is a massive game happening tomorrow, let's get to talking about it then, shall we? And diving right to the oppositional preview, we face a Galatasaray side that's on its way to Ibrox, undefeated in the season so far. Now granted, it's still pretty early in their season, but you've already seen a wee bit of a pattern forming with Galatasaray, and that's kind of brushing everyone out the way pretty damn comfortably as they sit joint top of the league with four other teams, by the way, all sitting on 7 points as they have 2 wins under their belt and 1 draw as well. And that draw is very fascinating because that was their most recent game that they've played. Now granted, it was against their rivals Fenerbahce, who aren't any pushovers either, but it was just a wee interesting thing to look at because before that, whether it was in the league or it was Europa League qualifiers, they were just brushing teams aside, but they came up against a side who was also going after them on the attacking perspective, and they sort of stuttered and didn't really contain it as well as they were versus the teams that was sitting back. But even with that 0-0 draw versus Fenerbahce, it has to be said they're having a decent start to the season so far, and they are going to be coming to Ibrox fully confident and fully belief that they'll be able to get the job done versus Rangers in this one-legged shootout, which has obviously all been the European rounds. And people's had their say on it, but for me, I absolutely love it. I think it adds even more excitement because you look at it, they are a big name, they are a big team, but the fact that this is a win or go home type game at Ibrox just adds mere fireworks to which already should be a bona fide bonfire night. This is what European football is all about. Games like the Moran with the added spice of it being a win or go home. I'm expecting just scenes the Moran. Now, you might be able to tell I'm extremely excited about this game, but I have seen a couple of people and a lot of comments putting out there saying, I don't know why people are getting excited. This isn't the Galatasaray as old. They aren't as good as they used to be, but all I would say back to all that is, we aren't as good as we were 10 or so years ago either, ladies and gentlemen, but we are still a good team, aren't we? Well, so are they. This notion of them being just a big name with nothing behind it is utter nonsense, unfortunately. And that right there leads me perfectly to this Galatasaray side, because they are a side that is filled with game changers and people that can have that spark and turn it on in an instant and punish you. I mean, if you just want to be blunt about it, if you want to just take a step back and have a wee overview of their squad, they have 2 absolutely rapid wingers who didn't do much tracking back and aren't interested in defensive side of thing, but when the ball is in the midfield, they're sprinting in behind fullbacks and trying to create havoc. Especially Feghouli, who obviously you may know from his time at Valencia or his short stint at West Ham, but didn't hold that against him. He is a very, very good player and he's still got his pace, he's still got his trickery, and he's got that kind of Ryan Kent role in that team where he can drift through whatever side that he wants, whether it's right or left. But Nene, it's going to be going back the way, ladies and gentlemen. I think he is going to be one of the key players in this game from a Galatasaray side of thing, and I think the fact that he will challenge those fullbacks, whether it's Tav, whether it's Barisic, probably switching throughout the game. How we handle that, how we shut that down, I think is going to be the determining factor on whether we win or we lose this game. But it isn't just Feghouli who's a danger man for Galatasaray. As we've already mentioned, the other side isn't exactly slow either in terms of the pace department. But even in the centre attacking mid spot, you look at Belhanda, when he is switched on and when he is up for the battle, he's as good as anyone in that centre attacking midfield role. Barefooted, can slice defences, can shoot for range. When he wants to be, he is a very, very dangerous player. And the truth is, I could go on and mention this guy, this guy and this guy throughout their side. They are still blessed with quality. But I can imagine there'll be a lot of people currently watching today's video who clicked on today's video to hear about one guy from Galatasaray and one guy only, and that's a centre forward by the name of Falcao. You might have heard of the lad. He is the second best Colombian striker in the world, and if he was involved in the game tomorrow, he would also be the second best Colombian on the actual park. But a lot of people have this notion about this lad. They say, no, he's done and he's dusted, he's never been able to recover for his injuries. But this is usually the part, or this is what I had planned for today's video. I was actually going to sort of debunk that and talk about how he's finally over his injuries, how he's adapted his play, and he's a much better attack. Well, I wouldn't say much better, but he's much better than he was over the last 3 or 4 years. He's scoring goals for fun now, right? He's back doing Falcao things, but I don't really need to do that in today's video, because as it's been reported as I'm currently recording today's video, Falcao is apparently going to be rested for the game tomorrow, keeping him for the league football at the weekend and the Europa League group stages. I hope that backfires. And this is where it got really interesting for me, because everything I'd sort of planned today for the video just got ripped up through the old right shoulder, because it's not only just Falcao that's apparently going to be rested or not going to make the trip versus Rangers, but there's actually rumoured to be a couple of first team key players that isn't going to be involved tomorrow. Now there's one that's been forced, and that's probably one you all know already, but it is Turan, who will not be involved in the game. You maybe remember him from his weird move to Barcelona where it didn't work, but phenomenal footballer in his own right. But he actually tested negative for the virus, but he still has symptoms, so the club isn't going to risk him and they're not going to fly him over or anything like that, so he's not even making the trip. But that right there is the only forced change that they are going to be expected to make from the team that started versus Fenerbahce. The other changes that's going to be made are resting players and saving them for the league, which shows on one hand how extremely confident they are in their own team and the people that will be able to step in for these key players and some of the best players in their team versus Rangers. But on the other hand, maybe it's just me, but the way I see it is, it's a bit disrespectful to think you can drop a couple of your key players and rest them for the group stages before you're even in it. Now lastly, regarding the old Galatasaray side of thing, they like to play the old 4-1-4-1, which probably tells you everything you need to know about the side. They love going forward. That front four that they've got just behind the striker, not really known for going back and tracking back. It's usually the job of the centre mid / CDM / the only guy that actually cares about defence. That's his job, to sweep up everything and kick the ball out to the wingers and behind the fullbacks. Kick the ball up, get it to Bilhander, who can then create things. So they aren't expected to change that or adjust that, even with the players they're expected to bring in. It is going to be the 4-1-4-1 we see tomorrow, and it's going to be a very physical and attacking Galatasaray side. But enough speaking of Galatasaray. I'm sure their fans are already diving at the comments like they have been in my notifications all week, but now it's time for us to translate over and talk about what matters most to all of us, and that's Rangers, because we know where we stand with European football. Some of us love it, some of us hate it, but we can all agree on something, that it is very important in bringing in the old calibre of the players that we want in this squad. You look at Kent, you look at Hagi, the boys we've been able to bring in is on the back of the majority of the fantastic work we've done in European football. And that was a bit of a topic of discussion during this week's press conference to Steven Gerrard, as the question basically came out there and said, will the win in this game increase your chances of being able to bring in someone, blah all that kind of stuff. You know what I'm kind of saying. And Gerrard pretty much said yes, it may have something to do with that, because of the financial situation that everyone is in, because of the climate, the way the world is. Qualifying in Europe and getting that moolah may open the door for a potential other signing, which again Steven Gerrard badly wants, and I think all of us as fans want as well, because we definitely need just another body in that engine room. And you know what, when I was sitting there doing my notes for the video and I was looking at this guy and this guy and this guy, like I have been since the draw was done, you saw that during the live stream. I have been watching this team now for a couple of weeks. I was impressed with this guy. I was going, oh, he looks brilliant, oh, that could be a problem, that's going to be dangerous. But at the same time, you can sometimes get a wee bit lost in that. You get lost on the new shiny things that's in front of you. But when you take a step back and you look at this Rangers team under Steven Gerrard in Europe, we've got something to be greatly proud of. And listen, I know they're heavy favourites to win the game and there's so many people waiting for them to beat us so they can laugh at us and everything like that, but they are a very good side. But so are we, and I think that sometimes get lost because of the frustrations with domestic football. But in Europe, the record's absolutely spot on, and the players deserve the same amount of respect as the likes of a couple of these boys that were playing the Mora. And you know what, given the fact that they are heavy favourites despite everything we've been able to do so far in Europe in the years gone by versus Porto, Feyenoord, that's a Braga who was scoring goals for fun. I hope the fact that everyone is talking about them coming here and pumping us, I hope that can just add a wee bit extra motivation to these players to say, hold on, we deserve respect, eh? Now, something we haven't spoke about at all in today's video, but the media, everybody is, other fans, everyone is talking about it, is going to be Ianis Hagi in this game because he's against the team that literally call his dad God. People talk about pressure on the old plump bags, but what we've seen from Hagi, especially in the European stages, he's no scared. He's no scared to try, and yes, he may not play 10 out of 10 every game, but he is willing to try that back heel. He is willing to try that first time pass, and I'm sure he'll want nothing more than to go out there when he knows all the eyes are pretty much going to be on him from the opposition fans, and he'll want to do a performance for Rangers. So hopefully we see Hagi in and amongst it, the Moran. Hopefully he can make his dad proud. Regarding the players, we've got a couple of updates regarding injury news, which I think a lot of you will want to hear. And starting off on a kind of sour front, but it does have a kind of better ending. Joe Aribo and Kamar Roof are officially ruled out of the game tomorrow. I don't think that's a surprise to anyone, but is a bit of a sore one. But again, they are progressing very, very well. They've been showing on their social media how much they're working hard behind the scenes, and they're still on the timeline to be back after the international break. So good, and touch wood that there's no setbacks for that. But we did get a major injury boost, and that is the fact that Ryan Jack has came through a couple of sessions, full sessions, unhinged, without any problems, without any pain. So he may or may not be ready for this game. Now, some people might jump in and say if he's only had a couple of sessions, there's no way he'll be involved, but remember, this is the Ryan Jack who came back for injury and 2 days later he was back amongst it versus Hearts. This has happened before. We know how much Steven Gerrard rates him, and we know what Ryan Jack adds to that midfield, and that's a bit more defensively sound, a bit more steel, and a bit more legs in terms of pace and being able to track back, and that may be a key factor in this game, given the fact that they will be playing a 4-1-4-1 and going after us. Jacko could be huge, but the question does come to, do you risk him coming back into this game already, or do you save him versus Ross County? What would you do? And while you guys are sharing your thoughts on whether or not Jack should be back in that starting 11 versus Galatasaray, I'll give you another bit of good news, and that's the fact that Brandon Barker is also in the exact same boat as Ryan Jack. Came through a couple of sessions, feeling fine and looking good for the actual game. And I think Barker could actually be a pretty good option in this game. It's not going to be the best bit of thing like news or anything that a lot of people will want to hear, but Brandon Barker versus Porto, what did he do? Just ran out his absolute heart rate, his work rate, back and forth, helping the fullback out a lot and offering Sahan just legs going forward. That would suit this game plan to a T in the way Galatasaray play, but I'm going to say the exact same thing as I said before the Motherwell game. I want to see Jordan Jones. We saw it finally versus Motherwell, and going into this game with the performance he put in versus Motherwell, I think it's his jersey to lose, so I didn't see us dropping Jordan Jones for Brandon Barker in this game, despite him fitting it almost to a T. Jordan Jones can offer the exact same, and he's obviously on that high now after that performance versus Motherwell. Now, unfortunately, there is some more bad news as Cedric Itten has a wee problem with his knee and is expected to miss the game tomorrow, which is a real shame given the fact that he was on the up as well, but it's so far not meant to be anything serious, so they might just be a wee bit precautious. And the only other injuries, of course, Nikola Katic, who obviously is the long-term injury and won't be back until January. But that's it, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. That is the Galatasaray preview. That is the Rangers press conference breakdown. And that is the latest injury team news. And with everything being said, everything out there, now you know just a little bit more about the game. What are you thinking and why? Whilst you guys are getting your predictions out there in the comment section below, I'll give you mine very, very briefly. I'm expecting a tough game. Could I see us losing this game? Absolutely. They are a top-notch side, but I hope we just battle them and go after them, and I just hope it's a very, very good game of football. But I do believe we will have enough. The record certainly suggests that in European football. I don't know. I'm going to go for us, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to go for a very, very exciting, very feisty Rangers 2, Galatasaray 1. Goal scorers in the game are pretty damn simple and pretty easy for me. I'm going to go with Alfredo Morelos and the skipper Tavernier. And with that being said, now that me and thee have had our say, let's sit back, relax, put the feet up and hear from the people. There's been 1,674 votes. That's mental, nation. Thank you so much. Wow. The far and away winner, by the way, with 94% of the vote is Rangers. I thought maybe the Galatasaray fans would have been a wee bit at that, but looks like Rangers fans stepped up, slapped them to one side and went, hey, we're going to win this poll, and by God, they did with 94% of the vote. Now, diving into the first comment, it comes from Scott Cameron. And Scott Cameron writes in, got a feeling it's going to be a close 3-2 win for the boys in blue. Kent, El Buffalo, and maybe a little Tavernier goal as well. CJ Mikey writes in, it's going to be a hard game, but I can see Falcao passing the torch to Morelos. Douglas Horn writes in, Galatasaray have a poor away record in Europe. 3-1 to Rangers for me. Dirty double from Ryan Kent. And Morelos has scored a third. I'll take that, Douglas. I'll take that all day, son. Dean writes in, Rangers 1-0 Galatasaray with Kent to score a volley from 30 yards out. Dickie writes in 1-0 to Rangers. Morelos, last minute winner with a Jones assist. Very similar to last year. Keegan writes in 3-2 to Rangers. It will be an end-to-end game, but Rangers will come out on top. Hagi to get the double and Tav to score. Seeing a lot of love for Hagi here. And the last one we'll read out in tonight's video, scroll nearer to the bottom, and we'll stop it right here. And it comes from Dave Spud, and he writes in, no one gave us a chance against the Dutch lads last week. I'm going to go 2-0 to Rangers. Well, there it is, ladies and gentlemen. You've heard from the people. You've heard from myself. If you haven't done so already, you know what to do by now. And as always, I've been CJ Novo 992. Thank you so much for watching, and bye.